want pizza.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Jon.
And this is Pastors and Pizza,
a podcast where two normal pastors,
or abnormal,
consume some of the best
and worst
pizzas that the area has to offer,
while trying to make sense of our faith and figure out how it connects with the world around us.
We believe that the best conversations happen over food.
So if you're hungry for spiritual nourishment,
craving some honest conversations,
and always up for a good slice,
pull up a chair, grab a slice,
pour a cold one, unless you're driving, of course,
and get ready to savor the flavors of faith,
chew on some thought-provoking discussions,
and satisfy your craving for both pizza and a deeper connection with God.
On Pastors and Pizza.
All right, welcome back to Pastors and Pizza. Aaron, how you doing today?
I'm great, Jon. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Where did we find ourselves today?
Gosh, Mod Pizza, one of my favorite places.
Yeah, Mod Pizza, the chain place. I don't know if it's like national or like.
They say there's
partly,
millions served.
There's lots of them, at least in a good portion of the country. But we're here in Woodinville, Washington, at the local Mod Pizza.
Hopefully you can hear us. This place is bumping at lunchtime on a Thursday.
Yeah, it's pretty. It took a little longer than normal just because it is a busy time of the day, and we got the music right above us, so hopefully you can hear us all right. But we had to have some good pizza, and we're full disclosure, we're here specifically this time because our faithful listener and coworker Bethany was throwing some shade at Mod last week. She is not a fan of Mod, and so out of spite, we have come to Mod for this episode.
And let's be honest, we love it. So,
yes.
Spite.
I mean, spite maybe had us do it at this moment, but we would have come here eventually anyway. One, because we're trying lots of different pizza, but two, we both really like Mod Pizza.
That's right, and it's kind of a to Bethany. So There you go, Nini.
So she, after this episode, I think is going to maybe reconsider, at least give Mod another chance and see if the experiences she's had have been kind of abnormal, or
she could reconsider her listenership as well.
We don't know. She may be gone. We may have lost her. So what did we get today for our choices?
Well, I mean, I don't remember all of what's in the Mad Dog, but we got the Mad Dog, which is basically your meat, which is our go-to. We like meat pizza, right?
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar with Mod, you can basically do whatever you want, but they've got several kind of pre-assembled, not literally assembled, but on the menu assembled options for you to choose from if you have trouble making decisions maybe, or you're just not quite sure.
I don't know.
You need some motivation, inspiration.
Sometimes I have a hard time with
this. I don't. Yeah. So they have some samples for you to choose from if you want to just be easy, right? Or you can just completely design your own. So
which we did.
So we did the Mad Dog, which is a meat pizza. It fails to include bacon as it's presented on the menu, so we added bacon. And then we added something called sri-rancha at the end, which is a combination of sriracha sauce and ranch dressing.
Which I think is good. I'd rather probably just have sriracha because I like that heat.
You're just all heat. You don't need that muted.
Well, I think that's what it might be, is the muted, or, like I mean it, but I don't mean it kind of a thing. So,
Okay. So that was our kind of traditional norm. That's exactly what I get every time I come to Mod, is that particular pizza.
And I do a little bit of that, but I add a bunch of different things to it.
Cool. And so for our second pizza, we decided to come up with something, because one of the benefits of Mod is that you can literally put as many things on your pizza as you want, and they don't charge you more. They don't tell you to stop. They don't yell at you. You can put whatever you want.
I will say this, so as a public service, if you get a whole lot on there, the dough might be a little doughy, soft in the middle. The edges are still going to be crisp, but the more you put on there, the more likely you're going to have kind of soggy dough.
Yeah, and the harder it will be to get it to your mouth, because there are still the laws of physics that we have to work with.
Challenge accepted, homie.
Yeah. So we decided we were going to create the Pastors and Pizza Signature Pizza.
Yes, together.
Together, we combined on this. We did some thinking and some debating,
Some compromise,
some
if you will.
arguing, some compromise beforehand to determine the signature pizza. So we're going to work with the mod marketing department to see if we can get the P&P Signature, is what we're going to call it. P&P
I'm sure
Signature.
they'll jump right at
We're going to see if we can get that on the menu, so you all can just order it without having to remember all of these things.
Can you imagine how that goes? Who is this?
You're doing what, and you want us to do what? No. Yeah.
No.
All right. So, Aaron, what did we have? What was on the P&P Signature?
I'm going to get right to it. Spicy red sauce, and that was great. That's my new go-to, by
All
the
right.
way.
Let's start at the very beginning.
Oh,
So
okay.
they do have crust options here at Mod Pizza,
They do.
but unless you have some kind of dietary restrictions, why would you not get just the regular crust?
And that's what I'm
There
saying.
is a gluten-free, there is a cauliflower crust.
Which is
So-
also gluten-free, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. So those are options, but we went with the standard crust.
Right. That's good.
Okay.
And that's thin, so it gets crispy, which we love. But then we got mozzarela, parmesan, and gorgonzola, which is basically blue cheese crumbs, and I love it. We got pepperoni, spicy chicken sausage, bacon, jalapenos, and if you've been listening at all, that's a must for us. We love jalapenos. Roasted garlic, roasted red peppers, and then we drizzled it with Mike's hot honey and balsamic. I don't even know what
Balsamic fig glaze.
That's what it is, a fig glaze, and that was a compromise for your boy John.
Well, yeah. So I've already said I usually get the Mad Dog with the sriracha drizzle at the end. So some of this was new to me. Like we did have to have some discussion about what's going to make a good combination.
Mm-hmm.
Made some compromise. I wasn't sure about the balsamic. The Mike's Hot Honey I thought was a great idea because we had that on the Moto pizza.
That's right.
Right. So that was really good then.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, we got to have the hot honey. And Aaron convinced me, let's do the balsamic glaze. And it was a really, like the whole thing was a really good combo. You got some garlic and bites, you got the balsamic, you got the honey, you got the
Gorgonzola
spice
up in there.
of the jalapenos and the sauce and the gorgonzola. And
Would you add anything to it, bro? Or take anything away?
I mean, I hesitate to call it the perfect pizza
Fair.
because I'm sure several combos would have been very good.
Which is why we went away from ranking, by the way, with the
Right.
5.
But I mean, I must say, for our first attempt at creating a signature Pastors and Pizza.
That's taken, bro. We can't use that.
Yeah, dang it.
Trademark.
But for our first attempt at creating a signature pizza, I think we nailed it.
I think so too. I wouldn't add anything. I'm a huge proponent of just having that gorgonzola, the bitter, and all that. I think it was a perfect mix. I didn't get my first bite; didn't have that in it, so maybe there's and they're crumbles, so they come out and they land where they're gonna land. Spread it around.
So listeners, this is a test for you for the rest of the future of the podcast. I want you to see how many different ways Aaron can pronounce gorgonzola.
Gorgonzola.
So
Gorga.
he's got a couple different times today. So a couple different ways.
You're welcome.
So you tally those as you go.
I don't want to make that a drinking game because I'm not proposing that, but maybe get some of the really amazing ice here. Shout out to Kathy Day because
They got
loves this
the
ice.
Sonic ice, hospital ice. I've heard
gosh.
different
All of that.
explanations.
But maybe sit down and get some of that ice and your favorite drink in there. Maybe like yours. What was it?
Well, so speaking of which, I got the Marion Blackberry Lemonade.
Come on, man.
Which I try to avoid unnecessary sugars. No, ice cream, necessary. Drinks, not as much necessary.
I don't know, though, with that one,
And
it might be necessary.
so I normally wouldn't have that kind of a drink, but their Marion Blackberry Lemonade is legit. So
It's so good. And it is a huge sacrifice for me. I'm trying to really get a handle on my sugar intake. And
so
I'm
Aaron's
avoiding it.
sitting here with water.
Which I love water. If you're a loyal listener, you know that water is my favorite drink. That doesn't mean that I don't like adding some things to the water. But anyways, that's our P&P Signature. That's our experience at Mod. What did you think of the Mad Dog? You're familiar with that.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I get the Mad Dog every time I come with the sriracha. And after having our signature pizza, because I tried that one first today,
Yeah.
The Mad Dog seems kind of boring.
I'm serious.
I don't
man.
think I'll ever get the Mad Dog again.
You guys, you remember from the Moto episode, I gotta have now a party in my mouth if I have a selection. I add to the frozen stuff at home now. I've always added stuff, and Kathy, if you're listening, I know that some of what I add to the food grosses you out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people like that. Peanut butter on burgers, all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing, by the way.
By the way, right?
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, when it comes to pizza, if you can add flavors that you like, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, there's a good conglomeration of
Nice.
flavors. So I think we just created a tagline without knowing it: party in your mouth and a party in your ears. Pastors and Pizza.
Ooh, that's a great tagline.
Boom.
Give us feedback, friends.
All right. So that's, I think, pretty much it for our pizza discussion. One thing I want to let you guys know about here at the top end of this episode, we have scheduled the Listener Appreciation Podcast.
Ooh, how are we going to appreciate them, John?
So we are inviting all of you loyal listeners at your own expense. So I know some of you are maybe a little far away. We cannot pay for you to come. So
transportation is at your own expense.
Yeah, so you're going to have to, getting there is at your own expense. But we're inviting all of you to a listener appreciation episode of Pastors and Pizza, where we are going to be providing for you pizza. And now our hope is that Red Pepper Pizza, which is opening up in Sultan,
come on, guys,
will be open by this point. So that's our plan, is Red Pepper Pizza. If they're not yet open, then we'll have to audible and do something else.
So stay tuned, friends.
But Wednesday, August 30th, 6:30 p.m., we would like to have you come, enjoy some pizza with us, and then at 7, we're going to record that episode of Pastors and Pizza.
With a live studio audience.
Yeah, so you're welcome to just come get pizza and leave if you want, or stay and listen to the podcast. And then we're going to do something as well. We're asking you to submit questions. So I don't know if you guys, if you read blogs or you got beat writers for different sports teams or whatever. Sometimes they'll do a mailbag, they call it, where they'll ask you to submit questions, and then they'll answer those questions in their writing, right? So that's kind of what we're doing. We're asking you to submit questions, and then we're going to answer some of those on our live episode. So submit those to me.
Excited about
Email me, Jon M, J-O-N-M, at
crosswaterchurch.org.
Yeah, there's no H in there.
There you go.
J-O-N-M at crosswaterchurch.org. Send us your questions. It could be about anything you want. Theology, faith, life, kids, parenting, movies, pizza, sports, shoes, whatever you want. Let us know your questions, and we're going to answer some of those September 30th. August 30th. We'd love to have you there.
30th, yeah.
Please go ahead and invite your friends. We're not going to be super picky about whether people actually listen to the show.
Or stingy. I'll just say this: we are not buying booze for anybody.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
But also, please, while you're submitting questions, also let us know if you're coming, because we need to know how much pizza to get. So RSVP, same email, johnm at crosswaterchurch.org.
Let us know.
Let us know. We'd love to see you. That's it for our pizza talk.
Sweet.
We'll be back here in a minute.
See you in a minute.
Can I have your attention, please? I've been hearing all the stories. They say it is, what you see is what you get, and we just got to deal now. There's an author in a higher place that tells a story in a different way. And my life's in those pages, and I'm here to say that he won't fail.
All right, we're back on Pastors and Pizza, and we're going to kind of mix it up a little bit today, Aaron, on what we're including. Yeah, what we're including in our episode. But this is something we typically do. We just kind of check in with each other, so we're going to keep that going. But what's maybe a thing or two that's been happening here since our last episode?
Gosh, you guys, so many good things. Again, vacation is just wonderful. Been able to enjoy my family. Really love our church life. Excited about seeing a pretty good amount of people show up on Sundays during the summer. But yeah, other than that, trying to knock out my reading list. I'm not having as much success as I would like. Watched a couple of new shows with Kathy, and we've discussed some things. My kids as well. We just watched this Cinderella on Prime. There's a new one, and it's all about do you, and you take care of you. I'm choosing me, and again, that goes back a couple episodes.
Listen to one of our previous episodes and what we think about that.
So we had a good conversation, though. I do think you need to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the first part of that whole thing was Jesus saying, love God with all that you have. And then love your neighbor as you love yourself. So anyways, with that, that's kind of a nutshell what's going on. How about for you?
Some similar stuff. I've had a chance to get away a little bit with either all or some of my family. Went to Chelan for a few days.
Nice.
My sister and my brother-in-law have a house over there, so we try to get the whole extended family there together as much as possible. For at least for a few days in the summer. And so,
is that like people staying in tents in the yard?
No, we were able to all fit in the house. There's
nice.
multiple beds, so we were able to do that for a few days. Love going to Lake Chelan. Been doing that since I was in like 7th grade.
Oh, cool.
So real nice. And then also just this past weekend went to Sandpoint, Idaho for a wedding.
Yeah.
So my son's really good friend growing up, Justin, got married. He was
Boltsy, congrats, bro.
He was kind of our second son growing up.
Sure.
He was at our house all the time, or my son JD was at his house, or coached him a little bit in some sports, and just loved that kid and loved having a chance to go and see him get married. So
that's cool.
That was awesome. And then, you brought up the reading list. I guess I'll brag a little bit.
You should.
I was able to finish my first summer reading book, and it was probably not the one that most people would think if they knew me, because it was the fiction book, which I don't normally read fiction, and it was like 460 pages.
Goodness.
But I finished it.
Well done.
And it was a pretty good book.
So didn't you say it's like a trilogy or something?
Well,
like
it's a series. I don't know how many are in it. It's at least 3. And they do kind of leave you hanging a little bit at the end. So now they're trying to sucker me into another fiction book.
Is it working is the question.
It hasn't yet.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right.
But yeah, it's pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of a quick little tidbit on what's been going on. Not a whole lot.
Nice.
But Aaron, I want to introduce something new to the podcast.
Gosh, we have a new pizza. We might as well do something else new.
And so this new idea is, one of the reasons we're doing this podcast is to kind of help the people that we're connected with, especially at our church, get to know us a little bit better, because you can only learn and gain so much by hearing us preach, or just brief encounters at church or whatever. So one way that we can maybe help you all that are listening get to know us a bit better is a fun little game called Would You Rather.
Oh my, here we go. I need you to know, I am not prepped ahead of time.
Aaron does not know what these questions are going to be. And these, we're not going super deep today.
Okay.
But maybe future episodes we'll get a little bit more controversial, a little deeper into the
I'm not all that afraid of that. But
attic of Aaron's mind.
Oh, goodness. That's a problem.
Okay,
all right.
So this is one my son gave me the other day. Would you rather have one free throw attempt that you have to make for $10 million, or 2 free throw attempts where you only have to make one for $1 million?
Ooh, that's great. I'd probably go with 2 shots for $1 million.
2 shots for $1 million. Just try and get the more sure
I
cash.
just know I would short arm myself on that one.
You pucker up a little bit.
I would pucker up.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, this is what I told him, and I think I'm sticking with this. I think I'm going the one shot chance for $10 million, because I know I can make a free throw. Now, I'm not going to make every single free throw. I'm not that good.
Right.
But
That's
I
good.
think the reward is great enough, and I know that my ability, I can hit a free throw. It's not like this, random chance that I might 1 in a million get this thing, right?
That's
it's like
right.
I've got a pretty good chance of making it.
That's right.
And so I think I'm going the one shot for $10 million.
That makes sense.
But I probably would also pucker up and short, hit the front of the rim,
Gosh.
and
My
then
thing-
be out of $10 million.
I would overcompensate and hit the back of the rim or the backboard. I don't care if I bank that in for 10 mil. I'm good.
Yeah. So my other thought process is, even with the 2, like if I'm worried about like puckering up and being short on that first one, I'm still going to do that
You
with
will.
the 2 shots,
That's real.
and then it's in your head.
That's real.
That crap I just missed, and now I only have one more shot left.
Yeah.
I got to make this for the $1 million. And so I might as well just put that pressure on the one shot and get the.
That's fair. That's fair. I said, I don't think you could go wrong.
And then if you take the 2 attempts and you make the first one, then you're kicking yourself that you didn't do the.
The kicking would be comforted by the $1 million.
The $1 million would help.
Yeah.
Soften the blow a little bit.
It would.
All right. So one more would you rather. And we're going to do this. This is a pizza related one because this is Pastors and Pizza.
It sure is.
And we're sitting here, we're eating pizza today. Yes. Would you rather eat only pizza for an entire year or not have any pizza for 5 years?
Gosh. I mean, I want to be wise. I'm getting older. My body is flabby. Only pizza for 1 year or none at all for 5 years?
Yep.
Probably only pizza for a year. I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to think too much about it. I'm just being honest. It would have to probably be once a day. But I mean, yeah, I couldn't imagine going 5 years without pizza. But there is so many other options.
It would be the end of our podcast.
Indeed it would. Good call. And that does play a role now.
Now that enters my head, now that you said it, John.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think because I know I could eat pizza again in the future, I'd probably go with the not eat pizza for 5 years. Although that'd be very hard because I love pizza. But I think if I tried to eat only pizza for a year, I would end up hating pizza, which would then suck.
Then you'd go with the 5+ years, never eating it again.
Yeah, so I think I would go ahead and try to do the 5-year fast, and then come back with a pizza abandoned.
Oh, I mean, you're wise. And here's the other thing: just eating pizza would be so bad for you. You need greens. You need.
Well, we noticed here at Mod Pizza today that they have a pizza salad. I'm not sure what that is exactly.
Well, but tell them what it literally. It's not just like salad with pizza toppings. It's actually
it's salad on a pizza crust, which is, I don't know. I didn't see it. I just saw it on the menu under the salad section, but it like says it comes on the 11-inch mod crust.
So friends that are listening, yes or no on that? By the way, I'd love to hear about that.
Anyway, we gotta move on. So we got another new segment. Aaron, why don't you introduce us to this new segment?
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at odd, crazy, weird, goofy headlines and just discuss them as I throw it out there.
So so in the news, but with a kind of just random odd twist. Not your normal news that you might seek. We're going to bring you the oddball news.
Exactly. And here it is.
And free commentary.
And free commentary. Just super quick. Willie the Texas rodeo goat was on the lam, wink, wink, for weeks. Nice, thank you. For weeks. But he's been found safe.
Oh.
So what does that do for you there?
Well, like, on the lam from who? Like, was the Texas Rangers, not like the baseball team, but like the law enforcement people, were they like hunting him down?
Nice. Well, and aren't they kind of maybe one and the same? Who knows? But my deal is this: how good of a rodeo are you if your goat gets out?
I mean, apparently the Cowboys aren't any good. They don't know how to rope anything. What's going on there?
Okay, I mean, that's fair. That's all I'm throwing it out there. So here's a couple of other ones, just really quick. You probably heard about this, you guys, but in Southern California, there was a bear spotted in a backyard jacuzzi. What?
That's not what you want to find when you're going outside for an evening in the jacuzzi. You want to just kind of loosen up. I think that had the opposite effect.
It probably tightened you up. And then, like, could he not have made a better choice? I'm assuming that there's a pool somewhere around, but all there is an assumption. But the bear's chilling, and there's a picture of him. He's got his arm up on the side, and he's chilling.
Does he have a beard in his hand?
He's a cold one. No, I don't know if he does that. No, not in the picture. They might have took it out. But they took a picture, and he's looking at it, and he's like, what? You know, it's like, what do you want?
I got this cramp in my back. I got to try to loosen it up.
Exactly. So we're going to stick with the bear for the last one. Bears for the last one. Maybe you saw this, you guys. But there's a Chinese zoo that's been accused. There's been The Chinese zoo has been accused of having interns dress up in sun bear costumes rather than having real bears. So here's the headline. Our bears are real, the Chinese zoo says, denying that they're humans in disguise. What in the world?
Okay. Who is confused when they're at the zoo about whether it's a real bear or fake? Wouldn't it be pretty obvious if it's a fake bear?
So I haven't watched the video yet, but apparently the video makes it look like, gosh, that bear's mouth is open the whole time. It's really skinny. It's got frumpy fur on the back, like it lost a bunch of weight, or it's a costume.
Like, is it talking to people? Because that would be a tip-off.
Yeah, that was the other thing. And it sat down like, ooh, my dogs are barking. And it just kind of put its hands on its legs, apparently, and its head down.
So I will say this. So if anybody's going to pull this off, it's China, right? Because they're probably making all of the bear costumes. You know, like you've got all these like schools or teams or whatever that have bears as their mascot, right? So like the Montana Grizzlies, for instance. They probably have somebody running around in a bear suit. And so maybe the factory in China is like, hey, we got an extra bear suit. Let's give these to the zoo and see if they want them.
Well, here's the final thing. I did read this little excerpt. One of the zoo officials said, look, we are a state-run zoo. You can trust that we wouldn't put any fake animals out there. Hey, I don't trust our government very well. I certainly don't trust a communist government.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, and how would you like to be one of those interns? You probably thought you were going to learn some valuable skills in your future as a zookeeper, or maybe you're going to be some kind of like a biologist or a veterinarian or whatever, and they're like, here, put this on and go scare some of the visitors.
Well, it was 100 degrees, man. That was the other thing. Hey, those people would die. We'd never kill our interns. Okay, China, here again. Not a great track record in human rights. So whatever.
Well, all right. So let us know what you think of the new segments. We're still playing with some ideas here, but hopefully that was fun for you. It helped you get to know us a little bit better and kept you informed about what's happening in the world around us.
Yes, indeed.
That's it for this part of the Pastors and Pizza. We'll be back in a minute.
See you soon.
Blessed are the ones who walk in your way. Oh, the sin doesn't take the life from their souls. Strong you will make their skin and their bones. Oh, the wind cannot blow what your hands have made. Oh, the wind cannot blow what your hands have made. So let the wind blow. Let the wind blow. It has no hold. It has no hold. So let the wind blow.
All right, we are back on Pastors and Pizza. How's that pizza settling for you there, Aaron?
Ooh, I'm not gonna lie. The older I get, a little indigestion happens, but it was worth it.
It was good pizza. I'm a little full. You gave me that extra piece, which it's nice of you, but at the same time,
if either of us can afford an extra piece of pizza, it's you.
Well, I mean, Crosswater paid for it.
Okay, I mean like your body can afford.
Oh, the calories.
Calories.
Yep. All right. So today we're kind of in the meaty part of our podcast, our discussion here. Meaty, like our Mad Dog pizza. Today we're going to be talking about, does God care how I spend my time?
Gosh, that's just kind of a loaded, because right off the bat. Of course.
I mean, you probably can make some assumptions there, but for the sake of discussion and wanting to have some dialogue, let's not just give the quick answer.
Right. Well, but what I'm saying is, I think oftentimes because we know the answer to that, we almost dismiss it.
Yeah. I can see that. So let's start off with why would we want to talk about this? What makes it important enough to hit the airwaves?
So many reasons. I mean, time is the only thing my friend was reminding me of this last week that you can't make more of. We're limited on the time that we have. It feels like we have forever, but everybody's got 24 hours as long as they're still alive, right? 7 days a week, however many days in that month, 365 or 366 on the days of the year. And so what are you doing with your time? Because that's life, right? Time is life. That's what you're doing. You live your life and you're living it in the space of time. So,
right.
I mean, there's some quick thoughts. What about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's probably what makes it the most important. It's a limited resource. Randy Alcorn, he had a quote. I'm not sure what writing it was from, but he's an author, written lots of different books. But he said it like this. He said, we have to look at our lives as a window of opportunity because none of us has unlimited time.
Nope.
Everyone, no matter who they are, has 168 hours a week. And we're supposed to spend about a third of it sleeping, and then another large amount of that likely goes to work. But in terms of what we call discretionary time or free time, how much do we actually have, and how are we spending it?
Amen. I mean, and so again, you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, or last week at least. It's like time is a gift from God. God doesn't need time. He's got everything figured out outside of time. He's outside of time. But for us, it's a gift. And so what are we doing with it?
Right. Well, another aspect is, so when we talk about how we have limited time, like Randy Alcorn says there, we all have 168 hours a week. So it's defined. We've got a certain number of hours in a day, a certain number of hours in a week. But we don't really know how many hours we have.
No.
Right? Because
exactly.
The next hour is not promised. The next day, the next week, the next month, the next year, not promised to us.
Amen.
So while there's certain limitations on time, there's also this unknown element that we really have no idea how much time we have left.
Right on. So let me ask accordingly. Has God told us what to do with our time? Do you, I mean, you're not 50 yet. You'll be
I'm
there.
not. I'm way younger than 50.
Is way the word we're going with?
I mean, it's relative, right? I mean,
how many years till you're 50? Just curious. Speaking of time.
As of today, 2 years and 17 days.
Wow. I don't know if you heard that, but his birthday's on the 20th, you guys. So
I mean, they didn't know what day we were recording.
Of August.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not yet 50. What is God saying? What do you know that he says to you? You're a pastor. You're an adult male, almost 50. What has God told you? What do you know that he's told you that he wants you to do with your time? Yeah,
I mean, and so it's a tough question potentially to answer, right? Because there's the good news and the bad news is that he has told us some things that we could use to kind of gauge.
Absolutely.
But he hasn't been necessarily ultra specific. Like nowhere in his word does he say you must spend 2 hours a week doing such and such a thing, right? There's more just general principles or general purpose in Scripture of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to go to all the world and proclaim who He is, right?
That's right.
Teach them to follow Him,
Nice.
right?
Yep.
We're supposed to, there's purpose things like that. Trying to think specifically of what other purpose. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, right? Well, if you're doing it with all of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength, that means everything that's part of everything you're doing.
Gosh, see, and
right?
I think that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Is that he's saying your time is a gift. He gives us free will. You can do what you want with your time, but I am telling you what I want you to do with your life, which is also your time, are these things. Work mightily, heartily, whatever you do as for the Lord, not for man, Colossians 3:23. It's him that gives you the reward. Psalm 113:3, from the rising of the sun to its setting, which is a whole day, right? The name of the Lord is to be praised. So
right.
We're praising the Lord. We're doing these things. But again, is he giving us specificity on what to do with the time we've been given? Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow. So make the most out of the day you've got, which is today, and yesterday's over.
Yeah.
So, yes, and yet no, he's not like puppet master, and yet he's sovereign. So he knows everything that's going to happen anyways.
Yeah. So this was a good discussion, Aaron. I'm glad we've cleared everything up for everybody.
You're welcome,
We'll
everyone.
see you next time. Just kidding. I don't know if we're going to be able to provide a whole lot more clarity.
I agree, and it's okay, and it's funny, considering we took a ton of your time last time with our longest to date, recording or podcast. But I would ask you guys to consider and even share with people in your lives, what is it that God wants you to do with your time?
Yeah, so I think one of the big questions, I think one of the big issues for us, and C.S. Lewis talked about this in some of his writings, is we try to kind of separate out the spiritual and the secular.
Oh gosh,
right? Like we box these things, and so Sunday is my spiritual time, or when I'm reading the Bible, or when I'm praying, or whatever the case may be, that we deem that spiritual, right? And that's in our spiritual box that takes up however much time, right? And then we have our non-spiritual or our secular box or boxes that are separate, right? And so we kind of think that's the mistake that I think we make is we try to separate these things, and that's not what we see in Scripture, right? We see in Scripture, whether it's in Jesus' teachings, whether it's in the letters by Paul and others, we get a new heart. We're transformed. We're changed. It's a holistic thing.
Good. That's
right?
good.
And so, it's why when people say, this is totally unrelated to time, but when people say like you got to keep religion out of politics or out of school or out of this or out of that, it's like, I get that maybe isn't the basis for how you create laws or some of those kinds of things. Right. But if I'm a Christ follower, that's who I am. That's my identity. I don't separate that from anything. That's right. Right. And so the same thing with time is if we're trying to honor and glorify and become more like Jesus, we can't really compartmentalize and say, no, this is sacred, holy Jesus stuff, and this over here is not.
Right. So, to that point, John, I'm wondering for some of our friends that are far more observant to even, the Ten Commandments or our Hebraic roots or Hebrew roots, does that include Sabbath? Because, there is a whole lot of rules around that particular amount of time. Yeah. Literally from sunset Friday to sunset Saturday. There was specific, what we would understand as 24 hours of this is dedicated to the Lord. Jesus comes along, doesn't change any of that, but he says man wasn't made for Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. God cares about what you and I do with our time. We can say, I'm at work, whatever Randy Alcorn's thing was, a third of those 168 hours of sleeping and then a bunch of that is work. Is that just not time that I need to worry about with regards to the Lord? Of course not. Right. But it's work. But the only time he's really concerned about is your Sabbath? No, man, he's given you life. Yeah. Each breath is a gift. So each second, minute, all that. But we waste a lot of time.
Right. And so when you first brought this topic up as an idea, I was like, well, no, that seems like a dumb idea because I know that I waste a lot of time. I don't want to talk. Convicting. I don't want to talk about that. Right. And we do. So we all have like Randy Alcorn said in this quote. We all have X number of hours. Now, some of us are going to have more or less free time, quote unquote, than life, others, right? Depending on what's going on, how much that's spent, watching and raising kids, and how much that's working, and how much that's whatever, right? And so we're all in a little bit different spot with what we would deem as free time. Some of us also maybe use that as a bit of an excuse, right? Oh, that's not free time. I had to do that. Like, really? You had to do that?
This game is the most important game of the year.
Hey, I already said I was convicted. You don't have to keep going. All right?
Sorry. I was hearing my wife's voice, and that just came out of my mouth.
Okay. All right. Okay. So everyone's in a different spot. And then really I think it comes down, because a lot of the things that we spend our time on are not bad things in and of themselves. Right. Right. It's the motivation behind it. It's the, what are we trying to get from it? Those are the things that make it bad things. Because God created all these things for us that we're supposed to enjoy his creation, right? It's for our pleasure. It's for our good.
Hebrews or Romans. Yeah.
And so just because you're hiking doesn't mean that you're wasting time, right? If you're doing it for God's glory, even going to a baseball game, right? I mean, on the surface, yeah, who cares about the outcome of a baseball game? There's no eternal significance to that, right? But if you're doing it with your family or with a friend or with that can be time,
right,
where you're developing community relationship, you're pouring into each other, you're maybe even discipling specifically, intentionally, right? So that can still be used for God's glory,
right? But not for justification, right? Like, how about this? No offense to anybody who's really clever on this, because, I would actually applaud most people that are this way with regards to money and taxes and all that. But look, let's go out to eat, and I'm going to write it off if we talk just a little bit of business.
Yeah.
Right? And so is that how some of
us... Do you want to buy what I'm selling? No? All right, let's eat.
Exactly. And now I can write that off or get some kind of, I guess, kickback. But I think oftentimes I've done this, like I feel like I have to justify watching something. So I'm going to tear it apart a little bit or be critical thinking or, hey kids, yeah, you can watch this or we can listen to this, but then we're going to talk about it. But really, when I think about where my heart is at, I want to talk about things. I want to try to understand why I'm watching it, why I'm listening to it, why it resonates, why it doesn't. Why do people like this? Except for country music. I'm not willing. I don't need to do that. But I mean, I get that there's stories and all that. But frankly, I don't want to justify it. I want to remember that all the hours, all the days from the rising to the setting of the sun has been given to me by the Lord. To praise him all 24 hours, probably not going to ever do that until I'm in a spot where time doesn't actually count, which is eternity, right? Because it's just forever. But I want to live towards that. I want to work as unto the Lord. I want to make the most out of it. I want to, what does it say? Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, pure, lovely, commendable, if there's any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. I want to aim towards that. I want my time to be spent that way. And I think God cares about that because he's like, Jesus said, look, the light's only going to be shining for so long. Mm-hmm. I'm only here for so long. He was limited, and he limited himself, by the way, to be here for so long. So make the most of the opportunities you have.
Yeah, and Paul also says in Ephesians, he says, look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of time, because the days are evil. I know you get jokes about that one because your name's Day. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the will of the Lord is. Amen. That's Ephesians 5:15-17.
Outstanding.
Right? So there's wisdom, right, that we're called to. I mean, we have a mission, a purpose as Christ followers. And so we're not, and when we first started talking about this or brought up this topic of having this as discussion, I thought of in Acts where they all watched Jesus ascend. And they're just kind of staring up into the heavens, and the angels come and they're like, why are you just standing there looking up? Like do something.
Get
right?
to what he talked to you about.
And I mean, that was like immediately. And so I just think now we're a couple thousand years later, and the amount of time that I waste, not even like, where did Jesus go? It's just like, I wonder what's on TV. But like, why are you just sitting there? Right? We've got stuff we're supposed to do. And again, I think it can be very easy to go totally the other direction and either feel guilt or shame or whatever, or become legalistic. Where we're like, did you read your Bible 6 hours today? Did you pray for unceasingly? Right? And get on either ourselves or even worse on other people because they're not following these activities that they're supposed to be following, right? And then you just become self-righteous and you become legalistic. And are those things bad? No, but if you're only doing them to check the box, then that's just as bad.
Well, or to earn something, right? And I mean, we're going to talk about this a little bit later in August about how the way is hard. Jesus says some hard things, right?
Yeah.
And some of the hard stuff that he says is to the Pharisees, well, a lot of the hard stuff that he said, but he's like, you tithe of your garden, your herb garden, and you forget mercy and compassion. He's like, you should do both. We should engage and just be in everyday life with people, and we should be very, very strict at times with what we're doing with our time.
Yeah.
Start the day out with him, whether it's 24 minutes, 2 hours, I don't know. I mean, reading the word, knowing the word, sharing the word, talking about it, talking to God, listening to God, praying. It'd be great to do that until you fall asleep. Or even like Kathy and I will listen to the Bible while we're sleeping often, right? It makes for some cool, weird dreams and all that. And I'm not trying to just hopefully this washes over because I don't have time to read it. That's not it. I like to hear it. But I also know that you can't do all 24 hours that way. So what is it that God wants? He wants us to seek him first. He wants us to make much of his way and his will and his life and love, and to share that with others. And I've got people in my life that they're not all that interested in the Bible. They're not all that interested in godly conversation, but they're interested in me. And so they're going to listen at least a little bit to what's interesting to me or what I've been doing with my time. Even this podcast, I have friends that aren't Christians that'll listen to it, and they're, at minimum, they're hearing some cool things. So if you're listening, by the way, thank you for doing so. But I also say to this, is this a waste of our time? Is there any eternal significance to pastors and pizza? I would say,
I hope so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just hope. I would say, yeah, there is. What justifies our use of time? Is it, again, back to that tax thing? Oh, we talked about business.
Yeah.
No, this is like the gift that God has given us. We want to use it to make much of him. There's a lot of different things we do that we could make more of him. So I know, like we said, that's kind of a simple answer, and it's, maybe some people are like, well, are we supposed to watch movies? Are we supposed to listen to anything that isn't Christian? All those kind of things. I'm going to leave that to you and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Like what is he saying is a good use of your time?
Well, so before we get into maybe some of those kinds of answers or questions, we talked a little bit about this idea of sacred versus secular, and that's kind of one of the roadblocks or obstacles to us maybe best using our time, right? What are maybe some other dangers, some other reasons that we aren't spending our time the way that we should? Just because sometimes we don't even realize we're doing these things, right? So do you have any thoughts on what are maybe some of the things that are keeping us from making better use of our time?
Oh yeah, for sure. A couple of things coming to my mind, and it's mostly it comes back to the sacred and secular type thing. Is if I'm just spending time vegging out because I don't want to deal with something, or I'm exhausted or depressed or anxious or whatever, and so I'm just checking out watching something, or I'm checking out listening to something, or God forbid that one of us or any of us that are listening would spend time getting drunk, getting high to try to numb out. I think that's one of those things, right? Like I'm just trying to escape, escapism, whatever avenue you choose for that. So I think that that's actually probably some of the things that we need to determine. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I spending my time this way? I think one of the other things too is to try to just please or woo, honor people other than God. Like I'm just trying, I'm going to go and watch this movie or whatever just because my wife wants to. I think that's probably, there's some wisdom there sometimes. Yeah. But if you're spending your time just to try to win over people, what are you winning them to by spending the time doing what you're doing?
Yeah. And so, it's a delicate balance, because obviously you should be honoring your wife and trying to spend time
or husband, by the way.
Spend time with your spouse and build that relationship.
Yeah.
But how are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And all those
motivation
kind of
is kind of one of those big things.
There's a variety of things that distract us, that pull us away. Like you said, kind of escaping, just maybe rewarding ourselves for a hard week of work, or greed, or depression, or all sorts of things can keep us from doing that kind of stuff. And so I think it's good to maybe evaluate in ourselves, like, why do I spend so much time doing such and such a thing, or what is drawing me towards this versus this other thing that might be more beneficial.
Well, the lasting value thing that you said, I mean, I'm convicted by it because it's easy to get justifying.
Yeah, I think that's another big one too. Is the perspective with which we live, right? It's very easy for us to just go through life putting out the little fires that come up, and worrying about how's rent getting paid, or how am I paying the kids' college, or how are we getting braces for Jimmy, or these very real things that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and we're just trying to survive, and we're just trying to take the next step forward, and right. So we have kind of this small perspective, so to speak, rather than the eternal perspective, where you can really see the bigger picture.
That's right.
Right, and realize what's important. I think we talked about this kind of a little bit with our parenting episode a few episodes ago, where just how fast everything goes, and you look back and you kind of have these things like, man, I wish I had done this better or differently, or had more time on that, or whatever. And because what you've gained is perspective, right? You have a bigger perspective, because now you're out of it. Its time has passed. Whereas when you're in it, it just feels maybe overwhelming, tiring, quick, whatever. But as you get a chance to kind of get up to that 30,000 foot view of things, you're like, oh, okay, now I can see more of the big picture.
Good.
So,
what do they say? The days go quick, but no, the days go slow, but the years go quick.
Yeah,
and it feels that way.
So another thing that the C.S. Lewis said, and it's kind of echoed in this book that I've been reading. I think I talked about it last episode. Is a book called Awe by Paul David Tripp. Yes. I think they both have kind of said the same thing. I think it's another one of the reasons we can maybe get distracted or have a kind of a time waste or time suck. C.S. Lewis said it like this: we are far too easily pleased. Right? We settle for things.
Gosh,
and like I said, Paul David Tripp has this kind of the same idea in the book Awe. Is you go to the Grand Canyon and you're like, oh dang, that's amazing. And it is amazing, and you should have this awe, but you should have the awe should be in the one that created it.
Come on,
not just that there's a big hole in the ground that's massive, right?
Yep.
And so often we settle for these lesser things and let those try to be what satisfies us.
That's good.
Rather than look to the one who created these things, or created this desire in us to marvel at these things, and to have this awe, as Paul David Tripp talks about. And so instead of pointing to God and looking to Him, we're looking to these other smaller things. And I think with time is kind of the same kind of a thing. Like we spend our time on lesser things.
I agree. Because
we just settle.
Gosh, and then, I mean, I've heard a lot of teaching on this that really gets my heart convicted, challenged, but I want it to change, right? I want there to be some things. And so a friend of mine, Ron Mars, used to be youth pastor and worship pastor, and he, I think, just retired as a professor at Western Seminary. But I asked him, hey, what was your favorite age for your kids? And he says, the one I'm in right now. I'm like, well, tell me about that. Is it because of how old they are? He goes, no, it's the only one I have. I'm like, well, you've already had one. He goes, yeah, those were wonderful, but this is the one I'm in.
Yeah.
This is the one that I'm living in. So make the most, right? And I feel like that's just one of those grace gifts from God, is that He opens your eyes and He opens your heart and your mind and your ears if you're willing, right? And it's Him that does it, but He helps you to make the most of what you have in front of you, and to learn from the mistakes that you made. But you can't go back and live yesterday.
Right.
But you can live today. And I want that. And I want to live for God's glory. And I'm still understanding more and more what that means. There's a song, man, that's just powerful. It's Promises by Maverick City. I won't read all of it to you, but it starts, listen. I'm just going to read you a few stanzas here. And listen to all the time references or measures of time, all right? It starts with faithful through the ages. God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant and of faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you said. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast. And let my heart learn when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me from the rising sun to the setting same. I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. It's like he's in charge of time.
Yeah.
Keep coming back to him. Keep making much of him. Look for opportunities. Ask the questions of yourself that make you go, what am I doing with my time?
Yeah. So you're kind of getting into a little bit of the application. Like what can we do to better utilize our time? Like God gives us all sorts of resources, whether it's our abilities, whether it's our resources, financial or otherwise, and time, right? And we're to be good stewards
Amen.
of all of those things, right? But this episode we're talking about time. So what are some maybe practical application if someone is wondering, am I spending my time the way I should, or I know I'm not spending the time the way that I should? What are maybe some practical applications?
This is always my first move. Pray. Either pray a confession, like I don't know what I'm doing, or I've blown it, please forgive me type of thing. And then ask God to show you guys. Like what can I do with my time? What can I do that is going to redeem my time, is going to make the most of my time? After you pray and after you think through that, you can look to Jesus spending time with the Father in prayer. And I've just talked about that, but like specifically set time aside to listen to God and also cry out to him. Spending time in his word, like reading it willingly and I could say willfully, right? Where you are looking for how to live your life. How do I work as unto the Lord when I'm not at church, when I'm not in my quiet time, when I'm not listening to worship music? How am I able to live life as worship? And don't be ashamed of enjoying things. Like you said, there are a bunch of great things. It's when those things become our worship, when those things become our focus and we're leaving the Lord out, that it's a problem. That's a quick answer to that. I know that you're very much a specific person, so let me flip that question back to you, bro.
Yeah, so I got a few things that are probably more general than what you're talking about, just kind of how you spend your time in general. Mm-hmm. And obviously, as pastors, we're gonna hope that you agree and that you want to use your time for God's glory. Amen. and your benefit in that respect, the benefit of others
in that order also.
Yeah. But these are kind of just some general time type things. So number one, establish priorities. So take time to reflect on what are your priorities, what are your values, what is important to you. Like again, as pastors, we hope and we would encourage that God would be of the utmost importance to you, right? But what else is important to you? What are your priorities?
Amen.
Is it your spouse, your kids, do you want to try and learn and grow to get a different job? Whatever the case, what are the priorities and values that you have, and kind of establish what those are and figure out, and then kind of make a plan, so to speak, of how are you going to utilize your time. If you're saying that God is your number one priority, okay, well, how are you using your time to deepen your relationship with him, to glorify him? If your spouse is a priority, how are you spending your time to honor your spouse and to grow in deeper relationship with your spouse? Right? So just as examples. Next really one, a thing that I think is particularly good for anything where you're trying to do a better job of how you use something, whether it's time, money, your calories that you eat, right? Track what you're doing, right? The first step, like if you want to lose weight, a good first step is, what are you eating? How many calories are you consuming? Track that or like a lot of people have, they find out they're allergic or they think they're allergic to something. One of the first things they do is say, do a food journal, food diary, and record everything that you eat for X amount of time, right? So we can kind of try to isolate what is causing these things that you're worried about, right?
That's right.
So money, first thing you do, where is your money going? Like if you want to figure out how to budget and how to save money, first thing you do, track what you're spending, right? Get a baseline, right? And then you can make adjustments from there. So same thing with time. Track your time. What are you doing with your time? And that way, because a lot of times I don't think we realize how much time we're spending on certain activities.
Absolutely.
Like you get home from work, you're tired, you maybe eat some dinner, you plop down, you're going to watch a show, and all of a sudden it's, 4 episodes of Fixer to Fabulous, and that's just me.
It might just be.
But suddenly the whole night's gone by, and now you're going to bed, and you just do it all again the next day, right?
That's right.
So track for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, whatever you feel like is necessary to get a good idea of how you spend your time, and then that will tell you, hey, where can I make some adjustments? What can I get rid of if I've got my priorities that I established in step 1? Now I'm seeing where I've spent my time. Okay, is that matching my priorities and my values? And if not, you need to make adjustments.
That's right.
All right, and then the last one is have accountability. Like get somebody to walk alongside you and be like, hey, Aaron, I feel like I'm spending too much time doing this. Can you ask me how that's going? I want to spend less time worrying about what conference the Huskies are going to be in next year.
That sounds strangely specific.
I know. I mean, I do want to spend less time, mostly because I just want it resolved.
That's fair.
Yeah, but I mean, maybe get accountability. Get somebody. It's easier to stick to things if you've got somebody holding you accountable.
That's right.
And maybe even doing it with you. Like maybe you and your spouse both feel like you're wasting time on something, and you want to together. You want to do less of that and more of something else.
That's right.
So have accountability. Reflect. Take time. How's this going? What am I seeing progress? Right. So that kind of stuff.
Man, that is so good. I think that intentionality, I guess, often is considered legalistic because you feel convicted by it. You guys, we make time for what we want to do.
Right.
And we just do.
Yeah. And again, there's times where we just think, I don't have time for that. Well, maybe you do, but you just need to get rid of something else. I mean, there's an old business adage, good to great, right? And how do you get rid of, or you say no to good things so you can focus on great things. And that may be the case in something like this too. Maybe you're spending your time on good things, but it's keeping you from doing even better things.
Ooh,
and so maybe you need to let go of some good things so you can have room for great things.
Man, so my friend Brandon Schumann, worship pastor for lots of years, still is able to help lead worship, but he's transitioned into being a therapist. But he said something when he was in high school, it was early in college for him. And he said, Aaron, isn't it amazing that the maker of time wants to spend time with you?
That's good.
I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's just slow down, right? When you can.
Yeah. So speaking of time, I think we've taken up quite a bit of your time. We thank you so much for listening. Aaron, would you mind praying for us?
Oh gosh, let's pray. Thank you for that honor. Lord, I want to just stop right now and say thank you for giving us time in relationship with you that can be forever. And I pray for my friends that don't know you, that they would come to you and have saving faith, but also time, Lord, with people in our lives, and that we would make the most out of that is going to need to be your work in our lives. But as John just said, that we would be intentional. We would measure what we do with our time. We would be willing. We would let people hold us accountable. And I ask Jesus that as we are growing in what that's like, that we would invite people to spend time with you and others and to make the most of that. And I thank you, Lord, for some of the craziest things that have happened in our lifetime, like a pandemic that has caused people to slow down and spend time with you and each other. And so may we not fight you. Instead, may we submit to you, and may we help others to do the same. God, I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, I want to remind you guys that our next episode is going to be our Listener Appreciation Live show.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, so we'd love to invite you Wednesday, August 30th, 6:30 p.m. at Crosswater Community Church in Sultan, Washington. We're going to have free pizza for y'all.
Wait, did you say free?
Free pizza, hopefully from Red Pepper Pizza in Sultan. That remains to be seen. But 6:30 pizza, 7 o'clock, we'll start the show. We'd also love to have your questions. Really, any questions you have for us that you'd want us to answer, submit those to us. Let us know that you're coming. Even if you aren't able to come, you can still submit questions, but you can do both of those things at jonm@crosswaterchurch.org. Shoot me an email, John M, no H in there, jonm@crosswaterchurch.org. Shoot me an email. Let us know you're coming. Let us know your questions, and we'll see you on Wednesday, August 30th.
Adios, friends. This has been Pastors and Pizza, a production of Crosswater Community Church in Sultan, Washington.
Check us out online at crosswaterchurch.org. We meet every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. and 10:45 a.m. on the corner of 3rd and Birch in Sultan, Washington.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to leave us that 5-star review, and we hope to see you soon.
See you later.
Bye now.